Oh boy! Haven't been around for a little while and decide to come back to something real spicy. So, some absolute pea-brain over at Goonhammer decided to put out this editorial about transphobia in the Horus Heresy, the new book that they released, stating that only males, biological males, people with male hormones naturally occurring in their bodies that would go through a male puberty, can become Space Marines because of the hormonal makeup. And this, what's his name again? Let's actually just take a quick look at his name. Edwin Loop Moriarty. I'm not surprised a Moriarty is like this. Decided to put out this particular editorial. Now it's an editorial so that the website itself can go, oh, it's just one man's opinion. But let's just ignore that for the time being. And I decided to give it a quick read through, and my fucking Christ, there's a couple of lines in this which are very interesting. Very interesting indeed, and utterly incompatible with each other. He contradicts himself in this in about two separate paragraphs that are right next to each other, I think? Yeah, anyway, that are right next to each other. He completely contradicts himself. Absolutely. And I just decided, holy fuck, he's bot, man. We'll start here. The issues of trans people are myriad. It just goes on a bit of background on the topic. No one really cares about this stuff up here. This is the meat of the article. The experiences of trans people are myriad and varied and complex, and I absolutely don't speak for all or even most of them. But there are some commonalities, and one of them is, sadly, experiencing bigotry and discrimination from others. Now, I don't know about you, I'm pretty sure that every single human being on the planet experiences discrimination and bigotry from others. I will say I am 100% sure everyone is discriminated against in some fashion. Daily. Now, is it as much as trans people? I don't know. I mean, there are quotas that you have to meet for hiring certain groups of people in companies, in public representation boards, and all the rest of it. I mean, I would say that that's a positive discrimination. Does that count? I don't know. Perhaps there's a trans person out there who has not experienced any. You wouldn't find it because every single person has, at some point, has experienced bigotry or discrimination. But if so, I've never heard of them. That's because you've never seen anyone who hasn't suffered from bigotry or discrimination, you fucking loon. And it's hard to imagine how it could be possible in a society that is so rampantly transphobic. Which society are you talking about? Which society? US? I mean, the US is not the UK for one, so let's just take it to the US for right now, and then we'll move on to the UK. Where trans people are constantly celebrated, given absolute deference. No one criticizes them, and if you do, you're called a transphobe, and you can be fired absolutely from your jobs. They have priority in hiring, priority in roles in movies, and these kind of things. Characters are constantly in popular fiction getting changed to be trans or a woman or black or any of these other factors that people shouldn't really care about, just make new characters or whatever. So saying that so rampantly transphobic, I don't believe so. In fact, most people, as long as you're not a dick about it, won't care. Will there be some people? Yeah, of course. There are some people who hate women genuinely. There are some people who hate men genuinely, and women generally, and blacks and whites genuinely. Like, there's always going to be at least one person who hates someone else for color of their skin, their sex, their gender expression, whatever. You're not going to stop that. I entirely think it's a part of just being human or living in a society, man. It's not something you're going to stamp out easily, if ever. And the fact that we've come so far in about 40 years, 30 years, is a testament to how non-bigoted general society tends to be. Now, there are some bigotries and discriminations which are entirely fair. Like nonces, for example. The Wall is unforgiven. and the wall is unforgiving, and it accepts people non-discriminatorily if you diddle kids, and your family will have to pay for the bullet. Anyway. Continues on here. Trans people have been used as the butt of the butt of jokes for decades, and men have been the butt of jokes for millennia. For fuck's sake. What does this mean? It's bad to joke about trans people. Fuck off. Have the lies interfered with by society for longer? I mean, society interferes with everyone's life, my dude. Like, if anything, trans people being the butt of jokes and interfered with by society just means that they're accepted because both of these things happen to everyone and excluded from many of the rights and freedoms that other people take for granted. What was your opinion on the vax mandates? Was that okay to be bigoted, discriminatory, to interfere with the lives of people who didn't have the jab, to make jokes out of them, and to exclude the rights and freedoms of those people? A very interesting, it's not a principle you live by, is it? It's just a happy coincidence. You can be mad the shit. Trans healthcare is an exhausting uphill battle that forces people to present themselves in certain ways that conform with expectations set by cis, non-trans people who do not personally understand the trans experience or be penalised harshly. I mean, most trans people in my experience, like genuine trans women, not trans-trenders, who are doing it for the attention and because they get praise and everything else, or they have daddy issues. Oh, delicious tea. Most don't really care. They just want to be, trans and kind of live their lives, which is fine by me. It's the people who are actively grooming kids to be trans, who give hormonal blockers to children, which people really get grognardy at because you're again fucking with kids, and the wall accepts all in a non-discriminatory manner. Yeah, here we go. Ways that conform with expectations set by non-trans people. Okay. There's expectations for everyone set by societies. It can be different compared to, whatever society, but it's still... Everyone has certain expectations. You can't really get around them. Trans people often... Continue on. Trans people are often the victims of violence and abuse, oppressed not just by governments and authorities, but by communities and individuals. Everyone is, in one way or another. I mean, for God's sake, even speaking on this issue in the way that I am, with any sort of honesty, I can be oppressed by governments and authorities. At all. Because of the Communications Act. But that doesn't matter because it's not about one specific word. Victims of violence and abuse. Men, biological males are victims of violence and abuse at far higher rates than anyone in society. Shut up. You don't care about it. It's just that it's your own personal pet projects that are getting hurt, which is always wrong, by the way. Well, not necessarily. If a trans person hits you, you fucking uppercut them in the next week. Like, self-defense is our human right, or at least should be. Not in the UK, sadly, but it should be. Trans people are often the victims of violence and abuse, like I say, like everyone is. Again, this just means that they're part of society, like everyone is in some way or another. Oppressed by communities and individuals. I mean, being a white man right now isn't really fun, considering we're the only people that are allowed to be discriminated, made fun of, and oppressed by governments and authorities just because of our skin color and our sex. I mean, the suicide rate of men is fucking ludicrous. But no one cares because we're not protected. In ways that are depressing, dangerous, and sometimes deadly. Explain what you mean by this. Don't use weasel words. Fuck off. Most people in LGBTQ, and everyone said that, oh no, add in the Q, it's just an internet thing. It's just on Tumblr. It'll never be a real thing. I can't wait until you've got the what is it? The LGBTQIAP 2+. Why didn't you add them? Why isn't the plus on there, you fucking bigot? You piece of shit. You piece of shit, Loop. How about you fucking piece of shit? Community know a trans person who has died far too young. Yeah, and it's a real problem, as far as I understand, in for people who are trans. I mean, I think that everyone, when they go through, well, almost everyone, when they go through puberty, has some kind of dysmorphia, because it's changing so rapidly in such a small space of time that it's very, 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 very difficult to really reconcile the changes in your body for what it is to become. Now, 99.9% of people actually are fine with the changes and end up just accepting it and being fine. There is a very small percentage, as borne out by statistics, that aren't okay with it. Now, now this is a very dangerous thing to say. Now, instead of just being so gung-ho to change to give different hormones, why we don't just give the hormones that they're meant to be naturally producing in sufficient quantities to be okay with the sex their bone has, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing. That logically to me seems like the better solution. But that's an entirely different conversation. Let's just actually go back to this, because that's an entirely different conversation that doesn't have a place here right now. I mean, it kind of does with us talking about transphobia, but we'll ignore it for right now. Let's see. But yeah, it is sad that people just die far too young from usually killing themselves from this. It's always a tragedy when someone commits suicide, unless they're a paedophile, in which case you waited too long. Into this boiling pot of stress and fear is poured bile and viciousness by a small percentage of the population who believe that trans people deserve this treatment or worse. No. By a small percentage, you're talking about less than 1%. No. I don't understand how such a small percentage could have such a massive impact on one's life. I mean, yes, it would be a large amount of people in terms of population size, but at the same time, you're around people who what's the term? It isn't pamper, but we'll use pamper right now because I can't remember the word. Who do pamper you, who affirm, that's it. Who affirm you the entire time. And if this mental state is so fragile, if it's so ridiculously fragile that people who you don't know, who are being dicks, you affect you in such a way, then there's more going on, surely. Again, that's a different conversation. They are not the majority of people, but they have loud voices and they are relentless. Who? Like, I don't like it when people use the words like they, because it has massive... It says to me... Oh, fuck off. It has massive... It feels to me like someone saying the Jews when they use they. Yeah, like the Jewish conspiracy shit. Just say who you're talking about. Don't just use they. Like, explain. But you can't, because as soon as you do, and you start making comparisons, people who look into them go, well, that's not entirely true. There's quite a few people who are like that, shall we say, that people looked into and gone, wait a minute, hang on. Everything I've been told about them is lies. Count Dankula is one of them. Count Dankula is massively one of them. There's a joke in the UK that there's only a few hundred dedicated transphobes in the UK, but they all have newspaper columns. It's not that much of a joke. It's not really that much of a joke. No. No, it's not much of a joke because it's entirely inaccurate and it's shit. Now, if you want to talk about biological realities, that's not being transphobic. That's just being scientifically accurate. But newspaper columns, who gives a fuck? I mean, really, you complaining about having people having newspaper columns pot kettle black. To be completely honest, the language of hate these people use poisons the discussion of trans issues. Again, these people make specific accusations, or don't, or just don't say these, because you can't, like, I can't stand bad faith framing. Poisoning the well, ironically considering using poisons the discussion. I much prefer just to have the information given to me so I can more accurately make a representation in my mind of what you're talking about. Because if you're just talking about the idea that men and women, okay, let's just use biological terms here, that you don't think exist. You can see it just coming up if you're looking. Male and female. If you're deciding that these two things are just don't exist at all, like there's no difference biologically at all in hormone rates, muscle growth, bone density, reaction times, fast twitch muscle fibers, average intelligence markers, generalized intelligence, social intelligence, hand-eye coordination, everything. Like if you're wanting to say that there's no difference, completely flying in the face of every single the hell even reactions to medicines, because it was the assumption that men and women are so similar. Males and females are so similar, because we have to use this kind of language now, that something that affects a man would affect a woman in the same, a male would affect a female in the same way. But that's borne out to be not true. Even in something as simple as painkillers. Because it was mainly all done on men, and because men are expendable and no one cares about them. And as soon as it goes into the wider public and women start taking it, it's just it's part of the side effects that people didn't really know would happen in greater numbers when it came to women. I mean, for females. I mean, for God's sake, look at something as simple as caloric intake and alcohol consumption. These two things are vastly different compared to the two sexes. Vastly different. So vastly different, it's actually insane. Well, no, maybe not so vastly different, but there's a significant enough difference to reflect it. Reflect is that there is a base difference between the two. They use a trick that has been used by bigots from time immemorial to reframe discussion in the public eye and using terms and phrases that seem innocuous and unremarkable from the perspective of an uninformed observer, but slowly build together to create a twisted version of the real world that doesn't reflect reality, but instead their own hate. Like what? Explain yourself a bit further, please. Now, he does a bit, but not massively. But what tricks? Scientific fact? I mean, if that is twisting the world and reality, which is, that's what science is, it's a study of reality, to build hate, then reality is in itself hateful in your view, so you ignore it? I mean, that's not a good thing. I would say that it isn't, but I genuinely don't get this. Like, what ones exactly? It's madness. And this is the quote that has stirred up so much ass maddery. And I'm not gonna lie, it's fucking hilarious. The process by which Space Marines are created relies inherently on the hormonal and biological makeup of the human male, meaning that only males can be subjected to the transformation. Now, I actually quite like the term subjected here, because it makes it sound like it's fucking hell. It's not gifted, it's you are put through a fucking nightmare. It just states that there are hormonal biological makeups of the human male. I mean, something that's been observed since imperialist science has been a philosophy. Now, before that, actually, the two sexes are entirely, since ancient times, have been known to be separated by distinct categories. You can find this in the New Horus Heresy rulebook. Yes, scientific fact. The hormonal and biological makeup of the human male sounds innocuous if you're not aware of the process that's going on to alienate people from their trans friends, families, co-workers, and neighbors. Liar! Fucking liar! The hormonal and biological makeup of the human male is scientific fact, and you are the ones, people like you are the ones that are trying to alienate people from their trans friends, family, and co-workers and neighbors by making it like it's wrong. Like it's somehow immoral to even think about it. Because if you have a trans friend, a member of your family that's trans, a co-worker or a neighbor, and you don't like it, then you don't like it. I mean, like, you can't really change that unless you're wanting to make not liking something illegal, which I consider to be horrendous. But at the same time, if they're your friend, I don't give a fuck. A friend of mine has. I saw her at a wedding recently. And you know what? I couldn't give less of a fuck. I'm happy that they're fucking feeling better. I don't care. And that's most people. They don't give a fuck. Family, well, it's family. And you should care about your family more than really anyone else in the world. And co-workers, I mean, business relations. And neighbors. I mean, again, Well, there's not really any process that's going on to alienate these people. That's just straight lie. If you're talking about the trans athlete stuff, that's an entirely different debate. If you don't know about this miserable debate to know the words used to imply hate rather than state it outright, right, hang on. If you do not know enough about this miserable debate to know the words used to imply hate rather than state it outright. What? If you do not know enough about this miserable debate to know the words used to imply hate rather than state it outright. That's just a bad sentence. To someone who does, this sentence is viciously coded. No. You're just wrong here. It's just stating simple scientific biological realities that you don't want to admit. Shut up. Begone, thought. Let's get the science out of the way. There's no specific hormonal or biological makeup of a human male. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Now, is there differences between human males? Yes. But there is a specific hormonal and biological makeup. There is. Hormones, well, testosterone, vastly higher in men than it is women. Males than it is females. We can see it in average height, average muscle structure, average bone structure, average bone density, muscle density, reaction times, the adrenaline, the interaction between testosterone and adrenaline, stamina recovery, stamina in general, lifting. Sex is basically a pair of giant buckets that giant buckets of characteristics that we lump people into. No, it isn't. That's a lie. That is a distinct lie, and one that was actively said would never happen. Gender was the one that we lumped people into giant buckets of characteristics into. Sex was a scientific fact that was inchangeable. At the very beginning of it, and certain, because I remember like in the early 2000s, and like just into the teens or into the tens, there was this debate going on, and the basic premise was gender is the societal construct, sex is the biological reality. These two things are separate. One is just a society saying what sex characteristics should make you do, and the sex characteristics were inchangeable, and it's just something that trans people have to deal with. But we're not saying that sex doesn't exist. And I was laughing at all the conservatives back then that said, no, what will end up happening is sex will go down the same route, and people will start deconstructing sex into making it, oh, it's just society, man. And I laughed at them, and lo and behold, in my fucking hobby, people are saying it. Fuck. Why did you have to make the conservatives right? Why do I have to now eat crow and say, you know what, conservatives, my B conservatives. I guess I'm gonna have to. I'm just. Oh, fuck! It feels bad. There's no specific, a single specific indicator of sex. Yes, there are. Yes, there is. There are hundreds, and almost every human who has ever existed is a jumbled mix of them. No, that's gender. That's gender. You're changing the language. You're changing the language. You're so bad faith. It is absolutely just painful to read this. You are one of the worst people in society right now. You are one of the worst because you are actively changing the language. You are twisting it and ruining it to make it suit your own fucking needs. Actively go fuck yourself. I am sick and fucking tired of this kind of this kind of language twisting. Shut the fuck up and get out of the hobby, because we do not need you kind of people here. If you have enough traits of one kind, we cruelly decide you're a male, and not enough of the other one go for me female. Not enough for either of us to make a snap judgment on little evidence. Well, there are people who are intersex and they get fixed. Intersex it's like 0.03% of the population. It is such a rare deformity, and it is a deformity. It is a deformity because fuck me. Why do I have to describe deformity? It is a deformity, and unfortunately. And do these people deserve discrimination? No. But they do get fixed. They do get fixed mainly because one is dominant over the other, and in cases where it isn't, it's down to the parents, and it is a big decision, and it's not taken lightly. And anyone who's like, oh well, you know, intersex though, stop using them as your shield. Fuck off. Actively just fuck off. Please. Do these traits have and this is what I mean. Okay. Ugh. Makes me mad. This is where this particular paragraph here, as small as it is, much like this man's penis, is where he's just completely contradicted himself. Do these traits have significance? Of course, some of them. Which ones? Particularly medically, many of these hundreds of traits can be very important. Which ones? The big buckets we've invented to crudely dump people into, much less important. So this statement is nonsense on the face of it. No, you have just contradicted yourself. You have contradicted. This is why I get so mad at this motherfucker. Because this is just so bad faith. It is insane. You have just massively contradicted yourself. Do some of these traits have significance? Of course, some of them. Which ones? Which ones have significance? Which ones medically have significance? Which one of these hundreds of traits can be very important medically when it comes to sex characteristics, when it comes to hormones and biological makeup? Which ones? Which ones? What's your name again? Edwin. Which ones? Be specific. Be fucking specific, or you can't, because as soon as you do, you go, oh, well, that's my entire argument dismantled in front of my eyes, and I can't act as in bad faith. And this next sentence is just as bad at pissing me off, because it goes on to story writing and fiction, which is something I care a lot about. Because fiction and stories is how we interpret the world around us. And it's really, really important to the human condition. But this is fiction, you might be saying. It doesn't matter. You're the one saying that. That's been an argument from you for years. Oh, it's just fiction. Doesn't matter. It does matter. In order to create believable worlds that we can actively interact with and understand, there has to be hard rules. This is why something like chaos is so horrific. And even then, it has hard rules, because chaos is chaos. And that's fine, I guess, but as an author I take care with what I write, and I still use the real world as a baseline to refer to. Yes, we all do. Which is why biological, medical realities are important! I wouldn't write a book where there's no gravity, but instead blavity. I'm pretty sure blavity, because I actually googled blavity. I googled blavity because I looked at it and went, I'm pretty sure that's that sounds like a black, capital B black, politically black. Media corporation. Lo and behold, it was. Dude, I can just yeah, no, fuck it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in this conversation. It was. But blavity did sort of the same thing, but a sticky like a jam, and just write that as if it was seen and not explain the difference. See, I have faith in enough people. I do have faith in people. I do have faith in common sense. That most people look at that and go, well, yeah. And the observable reality between the two sexes would have to mean that you need to explain the difference. If all of a sudden they're the same, compared to reality. Fiction, especially genre fiction, often deviates from the real world considerably. But those deviations are of interest. They are. Which is why they have to be explained. This isn't being called out as a deviation from reality, it's being stated like understood truth. It isn't a difference that it isn't a defense that it's fiction because it's not creating anything. It's just being used as an untruth without recognition or creativity. And here we go with the 1984isms and newspeak. You can fuck off with this. You're a bad faith actor and you are lying straight to my face with this article. It isn't a defense that it's fiction. Much like everything that happened in Star Wars, thanks to Disney, is an absolute travesty and should be just purged with flame. But I'm pretty sure you're one of the people who used that defense, now haven't you? Now let's see the other side of this. That's a lie, because you don't understand the argument. See, this is actually a problem with a lot of people like this. They don't understand the argument coming from the other side, from the side that they're not on. Now, the other side to him would be, well, biological realities exist and we have to acknowledge them. Now, what does this mean? It means that you can't really have biological males competing in female sports because there's an inherent biological advantage. You can do really whatever the fuck you like, just don't start fucking around with stuff like this. But this motherfucker would label it as, oh no, they're just hateful bigots who want trans people to kill themselves. That's not the reality. But as we've seen throughout this entire article, Edwin doesn't care about reality at all. Now let's hone in the other side of this. How we express ourselves. All you've been doing is explaining one side of this. You haven't actively, in good faith in any way, honed in on the other side of this, which is there are biological sex differences argument. You haven't done that, and you somehow believing that you have is quite honestly sad. I actually pity you. How we express ourselves, the words we choose, matter. How we say something is important as what we say. If I want to express to someone that if they could just get everything tidied up, they could leave early for the day, I wouldn't, despite in the face of the words being acceptable, say work sets you free. And I certainly wouldn't say it in German. Because despite of each of those words being individually fine and communicating something appropriate, stripped of all cultural context, it has cultural context. And I'm not fucking quoting a fucking concentration camp. Oh my god, I didn't read this far. Are you seriously comparing the process by which space marines are created relies inherently on the hormonal and biological makeup of the human male, meaning that only males can be subjected to transformation, as work sets you free in a concentration camp. You fucking psychopath. What the fuck is the matter with you? What? God. Using the words printed in the... that's actually brightening up my day massively. I think I'm going nuts, so boys. Using the words printed in the Horus Heresy rulebook, even if the underlying meaning made sense, it doesn't. It does. You're just a liar. Wouldn't be appropriate because it mimics the language used by bigots to foster hate and division. No, you're lying. Shut up. You know what? No, I'm just going to dismiss this. I'm not even going to argue against it. You're just a liar. You're a piece of shit liar. Go fuck yourself. It's a bad misstep. If it was a single author, I would be displeased and maybe reach out. But ultimately, you know, a person makes mistakes from time to time. No, you would organize a hate campaign to try and get them fired, you fucking liar, because that's all you people do, you piece of shit. Go fuck yourself. And the author of this book isn't one person. Maybe a dozen people would have seen these words before print. Each one might say, well, it's not my job to check for this, which I'd say, okay, whose job is it? Because it should be someone's. There should be someone who is checking the output of a major publisher to ensure they're not accidentally or otherwise promoting language of bigotry. They already have parroted the language of bigotry, and it was your language with the, you need to agree with us or get the fuck out statement. But you agreed with that particular amount of bigotry, didn't you, you lying piece of shit? It's not a principle you're holding to. It's the fact that you're special snowflakes that are, and you personally that are having to deal with the fact that there are biological realities that you just don't want to accept. Games Workshop have a problem with bigots. No, they don't. And I don't mean in the good way. We all know it, and through though many of us do our best to promote communities that are inclusive and diverse and punch fascists in the face as hard as possible. Also, you are an intolerant bigot then. Okay, bigot. In the face as hard as possible. That's much harder if Games Workshop puts shit like this in their books, like a weapon ready for use by bigots. I've already seen bigots use this passage as a cudgel, and they will continue to do so for years to come. It's been the base lore of the universe for fucking years, and you have been trying to change it. They haven't, and you're mad that you have one little loss compared to every single other win that you've had from them, because you're pieces of shit that just harass and fucking bully until people do what you say. Shut up, Edwin. Shut up. This language will haunt the game that I loved for years. Of course, this isn't helped by stuff like Games Workshop using this specific language as product image on their web store. That's a bad look. Don't do that. Biological realities exist. Stay mad about them. You piece of shit, lying scumbag, active fascist, garbage human. We need Games Workshop to do better, and our communities can be better, and most importantly, safer. You already said you want to punch people. You don't care about safe communities. We need them to employ sensitivity readers. No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. We do not need that. That will actively harm the storytelling and world because you don't like things an author has said. Now, okay, you're an author, right? Have you written a story where someone dies? I've had people in my family die. That's not sensitive. Stop. It's part of a biological reality that we die. I don't like that reality. I believe that people are immortal. Their souls live forever. So if you write that people are dying, well, absolutely fucking ludicrous. I'm mad again, aren't I? Upset my dog as well. Good boy. We need them to make inclusivity and diversity a core part of the identity and creativity. No, we don't, because it doesn't work, it doesn't matter, and it doesn't help anything. If anything, it makes things worse because people leave. Because as soon as you start making sex, gender, race, all of that shit a front and center problem, because you have a problem with white males, let's just be honest. People, it seems, that need someone to hate when they're balls deep in an ideology. you would gladly just get people fired. That's just needn't fuck's sake. And not just a statement they put up on a website every year or two. It's fucking Pride Month, and I don't feel very proud of Games Workshop today. I don't feel very proud of Games Workshop most of the time. I mean, don't get me wrong, they put out the point changes. That's a video that's coming soon. I just haven't had time recently. That I'm actually, you know, they did the bare minimum, so I've uploaded them for that. But it's fucking Pride Month. Yes, it is Pride Month. It is Pride Month. It is Pride Month. It is the holy month of Pride. The Progressives' Ramadan. Please sign this excellent open letter. We'll take a look at that. If you can, but also make your feelings known to GW directly. Oh, fuck off. Don't harass or insult staff, but write emails to them to make clear your dissatisfaction with this. If you make it clear to them how much this means to so many of us, maybe we can make some change for the better. Okay, fantastic. So since you are fine with this, I know that I don't have an audience particularly. Well, I do. There's like 4 or 5 people, which I am so grateful for. By the way, I did a video a wee while ago thanking everyone who's, you know, subbed for my first like year and a bit on YouTube. I again just have not had time. I've been fucking exhausted recently. Yeah, just work being tiring. You know how it goes. Since we are, let's be honest, all you do is harass people and insult them, and, you know, tell them that you're going to kill them if they disagree with you even slightly. But we'll try something else. Everyone who sees this, who reaches this point in the video, this particular point, write to GW to tell them how much you appreciate the fact that they're sticking to the lore. I mean, I will. I'm going to do it after this. I'm going to use this link, and I'm going to go, hey, I want to thank the authors for sticking so close to the lore after massive amounts of political pressure from progressive fascists. Now, in fact, no, I'm not even going to say fascists, from fascists. Thank you so much for sticking to the lore and not bending to the whims of politics. For such a small minority of people who don't really buy your game anyway. I know plenty of trans people who are fine with this, who are actually glad that GW has stuck to the lore for once. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's try and use their own tactics against them, shall we? Let's write to them. Write to them and say, hey, thank you. Thank you. Trans rights are human rights. Chose to send this to GW a few years ago, yada yada. Look at fucking this. Jesus Christ. These fucking people. I can't... God. There's too many random Commissar 53795 accounts on social media. As it is. You can't tell the difference between fictional material and the real world. So to write something from the comment section of Mumsnet in a thread defending KJ Rowling? Bizarro World. And putting it on the objective narration as actual bad science rather than in-universe bad science is a really bad move. You wouldn't have a box out saying that certain races can't be Marines because chronology and skull shape makes the process not work, so this isn't on. These people are insane. These people are actually insane. Ridiculous. Like, actually insane. Comment was deleted. Someone push him back. Look at them. There's not going to be anyone at all in these comment sections that are going to be on my side. You know, on the side of, you know, don't change the lore, fuck off. It's actually thinking about it. Just a bit of pontification. Jesus Christ. I'm fucking mad. I'm actually furious. I'm actually fuming. From this absolute piece of shit Edwin. Like, it's actually... Don't get me wrong, part of it's very funny, but at the same time, get the fuck out of the hobby if you don't like it. We don't need your kind of people here. All you do is twist things into shit. Look at Magic the Gathering, that's turned into a heap of bollocks. Star Wars has been ruined, Star Trek has gone down the same path. I have almost nothing left of the things I used to love. And Warhammer's been twisted and changed so much. It took me a long time to properly come back to it. And now you're threatening to do the same to this. And you're trying hard. You're trying so hard. And I think that GW is just politically inept. I genuinely do think that they're just politically inept. That's why they put this out in Pride Month. And they put it out in June. Because they're just so inept at modern day politics. They didn't even think about it. Which is honestly a testament to them right now. Because every single other organization is just doing everything they can to be, oh yeah, Pride Month, and with the racial pride flag and everything else. Anyway, I said we'd take a look at this letter. Open letter to Gainsworks. How long is this? Oh, fuck this. Oh, fuck this. How many people have signed this? Jesus Christ. So only 1,000 people. So not even... Media page. Click here to sign. Not even up to... now I'm just sad. I've just depressed myself. Great. But yeah, there's not even over 1,500 people yet. Yet, I stress yet. Fuck me. Gonna have to try and get one of the... Or try and get in contact with one of the bigger Warhammer YouTubers who's against this shit and try and get people to sign. See if we can get over this. Because... As much as no one wants to be a leader because it's kind of cringe... And, you know, there's a point of attack that everyone can look to and go, ugh! Actively need pushback. We need to push back in the same way that they do. In the same way that these motherfuckers do. Because they come in, they twist, they change, they call you names, they threaten you, often with physical violence because they think they have numbers. Quite often do at the very beginning of it because everyone wants to be inclusive, and introduce people to their favorite, to their loved hobbies. And then what happens? They twist it. They get in places of power. They start throwing people out. And they just ruin everything they come into contact with. Don't get me wrong, they're part of the power structures every step of the way down. We'll see what we can do. Not much we can. Bro, this was only one person and what, like less than 1,500 people. We'll see what we can do though. On that somber note, with a good amount of white noise in between it. Say goodbye to everyone. I'll try and get more videos out soon. This just really triggered my timbers. Speak to you guys later. See yous.